Good morning, everyone. This is Red Zone Radio here on WQBQ 1410, the voice of Lake County. And we have Bob Wiltman as your host. I'm Greg Malinzuk. And today we have in the studio Randy Van Alstine, who needs no introduction.
Who is he?
Hey, good morning.
I never heard of him. Oh, okay. I know
Lucky
where
you.
Hey. But I'll tell you what, if you don't mind, I'll take it from here, Greg.
Right.
But like I said, folks, the second hour we will talk a variety of sports. But we have a special guest, and I mean a special guest. And his name is George Intveld, and he is the coach of the Leesburg High School men's soccer team and the Leesburg traveling men's soccer team. And we encourage anybody that has, with soccer being in a boom state that it's in, we got George would love to take calls. He'll answer any and all questions. Has a very interesting background, which I'll let Randy delve into. But the phone number here, call in 352-315-1410 if you hear Randy or George say something you agree or don't agree with. So you have no reason
The phone should be
not
ringing
to
off
call
the hook then.
That's okay. But I don't do this, but this is going to be tough for me. But I'm going to sit back and let Randy and George talk a little bit about what's going on in high school soccer at Leesburg. And Coach, I guess you're having quite a successful run there.
It depends how you look at a successful run, of course. Our record this year was not that great. But on the other side, I think it was successful.
Yep.
As a public school, you have to play and the hand that you're dealt. I cannot recruit or do anything. So that doesn't always make it easy. And over the years, a lot of talented players that we had went away and went to other schools.
Of course.
And that is sometimes a problem. It was also a problem that Leesburg did not have travel soccer. So a lot of kids that went to school in Leesburg did not go to any travel team in the off-season. And soccer is not a game that you can learn or get better in by playing it only 3 months out of the year.
Right.
So the reason why we started it is that we get more players to play and develop it that way.
You know, it was interesting. Greg jokingly refers to that you talk about soccer in your third hour of your sports program.
And that wasn't me, by the way, Randy. It was Greg making fun of soccer because he couldn't play it.
That's right.
And so we're really grateful for Red Zone Radio to let us come in and speak on the first hour of
we love
2-hour
all
broadcast.
Sports, kid around.
I know you were, and graciously, we greatly appreciate your time. When I asked if we could bring in Coach George, Greg was very gracious and said yes right away, because George is he's sort of certainly a local celebrity, but back in the Netherlands he's a superstar. And I wanted to sort of talk about a little bit about soccer and his philosophy of as a player and that as a coach. For our listeners.
Sure.
And so I just sort of wanted to start off with, Coach, if you would tell us a little bit about how you came about the game of soccer and then, quite frankly, your success both as a player, a professional player, and that as a coach.
No, I love to do that, as you all can see, and not on the other side of the line, but I'm not the youngest one. I was born just after World War II and grew up in a small town called Ridderkerk in the Netherlands. And the only thing basically that we had was soccer. There was no other alternative. And that soccer, you didn't play on beautiful fields or whatever. You played it in the streets. And there were 2 clubs, and one played on Saturdays and one played on Sundays. And since my family came from a religious background, I was going to play on Saturday. And once you were 12 years old, you could join the club. My dad also played soccer, and he started a program, what is now a U12 here, that if you were 10 years old, you could join, and of course I joined. And I played in that club my whole life as an amateur, and also after I played as a professional, I came back there and finished my career there. My first experience with the top team, for you grow through the youth and then you go to a senior team, was when I was 16 years old. And my first game, I'll never forget it. in the morning, I drove to the center of the village on my bicycle, and one of the guys from the club called, George, you have to be a sub for the first team this afternoon. And I got super nervous. 16, or maybe I was even still 15. And so I go home. I said, Mom, I need my stuff. I have to play this afternoon. Or I am a sub this afternoon, hoping, of course, that I got a few minutes.
Sure.
And I did, about half an hour. And all these older guys, they sent me all over the field, and I was very fortunate. I scored. And that was the start of my career, basically.
I love it.
Right.
Yeah. And so we did pretty well as a team, but never super. But actually, exactly this year, 50 years ago, we became national champions of the Netherlands, and that's a unique situation.
That's national champ, folks.
Yes.
That's not just they didn't win just like a community of this is the country. This is the best team in the country.
Yeah.
Wow.
And in the playoffs, we had 6 games where we played South, East, West, and North, and 2 games. In, I think it were 6 games, of course, I scored 13 goals.
Wow.
Can you imagine that?
That is a record that still stands today. Nobody ever beat that. But I have to say, in that regards, I had a teammate, and his name was Han van Loon. I never had a connection with any other player on the field like with him. He had to look at me, and I looked at him, and the ball was coming, and all I had to do is just kick it in the net. Yeah, I was faster than he was, so he gave it to me, and I scored. And that actually resulted in that I got a contract with a pro team in Utrecht.
Wow.
That career was not so fortunate. I had quite a few injuries, but I had a very big highlight there too. In Holland, we have a renegade system. If you're bottom of the league, you're being demoted.
Oh, okay.
So we were at the bottom, and we had to play against Volendam, and we had to win that game. And we got 1-0 behind, and with about 15 minutes to go, I think, I scored 2 goals in 2 minutes.
Oh boy.
And that was unique in Holland. The regular TV got interrupted to put it on.
How about that?
Right.
To put it.
That's a celebrity right there, guys. Talk about scoring in the clutch, and then you get on the tube. You can't beat it.
Yeah,
That's
and
fantastic.
That was the highlight of that career.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you came to the United States, and then you took up coaching. All right, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. I came to the United States in 1982, and I enjoyed it here. And I went through private circumstances that I was going to leave Holland, and I settled first in Pompano Beach. And I coached there for about half a year, but not much. And I moved back. In the meantime, I met Christine, what is my wife, and we moved to Germany, where I got a job. And in 2006, we moved back here. And very fortunate, we came from the land, and we bought a house here in Leesburg. And instead of driving 441 all the way, I got on 19 and passed by Hickory Point. And at that time, they had a Christmas tournament, the Invitational.
Right.
So I see all these kids there. I said, Christine, look at that. That's wonderful. So the next day, I find out that Mike Stone is the guy who runs it. So I called him, and that was the start of coaching soccer here in Leesburg.
In Lake County. And
Yeah.
now you've been with Leesburg for a number of years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're going to be continuing on with that, or is
Yeah,
that
that depends.
closely held secret?
No. I'm not the youngest one anymore, and unfortunately, I had a hip operation last year, and that didn't go too well. So I still have to make a decision, or I go on with it or not.
Well, I tell you, both of my boys have had the pleasure of playing underneath you at Leesburg High School.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
my youngest son, Trent, just wrapped up his high school soccer career this season with Coach George. And as many parents, I think I can speak on behalf of them safely here, you are a beloved coach by the parents and the players both. Perhaps not by the referees. But certainly by the coaches and the players. There's so many things, life lessons that can be taught through sports.
Absolutely, yeah. And for me, soccer is an emotion, yeah. And when I'm sitting on the bench, I'm part of that team, yeah. I would love to be on the field, but
Sure.
I cannot anymore. So these players are part of me, and that's an emotion. And lots of. It's true. I have a problem with some referees, and every day
Who doesn't?
I was going to say.
when I leave the house and I go to a game, my wife Christine, she said, control yourself," and I have to promise her that. But at the end, and it doesn't always work that way. But on the other side, for me, when the game is over, the game is over. I always walk up to the center of the field. Yeah, shake the referee's hand and thank him for the game.
Sure.
In the meantime, I've been doing now this for a few years. Quite a few of them know me now, and then we even can laugh afterwards. But some, they don't understand me and they don't want to even shake my hand. But that's part of it.
You and Bob were earlier before we went on the air talking about soccer and just the explosion of it in the last, fair to say, probably the last decade or two, certainly here in Lake County, but really across America. I mean, it has really taken a foothold. And now we have, from USL Pro Orlando City, now we have an MLS team right here in our backyard. Mm-hmm. And, and it's arguably probably has the greatest and certainly most diverse fan base. And then, of course, we have a couple PDL teams that now are in Lake County with the Villages on one end and Montverde now coming online in this upcoming season. But can you explain a little bit about maybe, I don't know if the hierarchy is the right word, but perhaps just the structure of soccer here in America and a little bit maybe how it compares to European football?
Yeah, there is a tremendous difference. And, for here, sports starts at school. While in Europe, the school and sports are separated. You go to school to study and you join a club to play a sport. And here that, of course, is different. That has advantages and a lot of disadvantages. I've seen it on both sides. And I think, and I don't want to insult anybody, but I really think that the system in Europe is a lot better. For
I'm
example,
insulted.
I guess that's our cue. Huh?
No, that's it. I'll tell you what. Well, everybody, we'll let Greg calm down and so he can put that behind him. But we're having a great time, and I'll tell you what. It's our first break, so we are here, fortunately, with Coach George Intveld, the Leesburg High School men's soccer team and the men's traveling soccer team, and we will be back after these thankful messages from our sponsors.
That's right. Thank you. You're listening to Red Zone Radio Sports here on WQBQ 1410. We are sponsored by Bill Bryan Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. They're located at 3401 U.S. Highway 441 in Fruitland Park. Their phone number is 352-787-2223. And as Bob alluded to, we will be right back after these messages from our sponsors. Welcome back to Red Zone Radio here on WQBQ 1410. Our call-in line is 352-315-1410.
Have you calmed down? I know that Coach George was just trying to give you an honest assessment of the difference between how it works in the United States versus Europe. And you, I know, went off with your tail between your legs. So we're going to let Coach George explain in greater detail why he feels the way he does, that Europe may have a little bit of an advantage over the United States and how they handle their soccer leagues.
That's right, Andy. You have Trenton, who is a very talented player, your son. And Trenton right now is at his end of his high school time. Mm-hmm. So he goes to college. Now, if he doesn't get a scholarship at a college where he can play soccer. His career as a soccer player is over. For next year, where does he go? There is no alternative anymore. Or he can play 7v7 or some kind of a co-ed team, but there is no really a club that he can join and play on a regular basis. And Trenton is not the only one. I have seen a lot of talent lost through the fact that these players could not go to college, but they were very talented soccer players, and they end up stopping playing. So a lot of talent in the United States is getting lost through that system. While in Europe, if I am finished with high school and I go to college and I go to college in another town, it's really easy. I go to college to study, I look at what kind of soccer clubs there are, and I join one club there and I play in the weekends. And that you do not have here. So I think that system works better. Yeah, for talented players. I won't say that if you just play recreational, then it doesn't make too much difference where you play.
Right.
But to go to the top, and if you want to go to the top, you have to play competitive soccer or competitive sports all the time. If I play at 60 or 70 or 80% of my possibilities, I'm not getting better. Yeah? I have to play competitive. That means we have to go to a level that I have to give everything what I have. And that often doesn't happen here. So I think it's really a pity, for we have more players here than anywhere in the world, 3.5 to 4 million. And you see that. You see that in development of professional players. As of now, with the MLS, it's very popular, but it has a big risk. Yeah, if we look at Orlando City,
Mm-hmm.
we have Kaká. Kaká, let's be honest, Kaká is
I know you're double entendre over there.
I like that one. I'll tell you what, you're not offended by that, are you, Greg?
No,
Good, okay.
No, that doesn't offend me.
Now, Kaká is a wonderful player.
Yep.
And you can see when he is on the field, he determines how the game goes. Speed up, slow down, move the attack, move the defense, everything. But Kaká is an older player, and he is contracted for a lot of money. And there are players on that field, they make $80,000 while he makes millions.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you see in other teams, what happens in the 80s, that older players, they don't get a contract in Europe anymore, and they come to the US for a couple of years and make quite some money. It is good for one way, for it's a promotional, it's a name recognition, so suddenly the public is going to see them. But I do not think that it is in the interest of soccer in the United States. If you give players here more chances and you start earlier, I think then soccer in the United States will develop a lot better than attracting players on their way out to retirement. It has an advantage also. They can teach some younger players, but most of them, and that's not to anyone in particular, they come and they freewheel for 2 years and that's it. Kaká, I have to say, that guy gives it all he has.
Okay.
Yeah, and I really admire that in that guy.
Right.
But that's a big difference in the way soccer is set up in Europe, and it's here. Also, we don't have a renegade system. There is no demotion or promotion. Yeah, so if you're on the bottom of the league, you really don't have that drive that I have to win the next game, for otherwise
Or you're going to fall out.
I'll be out.
Yeah.
I think that's also the reason why some top coaches in the world are not coming to the United States. Yeah, for that drive isn't there. Yeah, the only drive is here to get into the playoffs, but that's basically where it stops. And also that starts already with youth soccer. To give you an example, to go back to my first year in Lake County, Mike Stone, he asked me, what do you like to coach, the younger ones or the older ones? I said, I feel better with older kids. So they created, there wasn't, but they created the U18 team. The first game we lost, and after that we won every game. That was very nice. So the next season starts, and I look at the schedule. I said, Mike, those are the same teams. We won our division. What happened? I was used to, if you win,
Move up.
He said, yeah, that's not how it works.
You got to repeat. You
Yes.
got to be a repeat champion.
That's right. He said, you have to apply for it. I said, oh, man, I didn't know it worked like that.
Do you think part of the problem with soccer in the United States is that there's too much competition from other sports? Because when I was growing up, I played hockey, lacrosse. I didn't play football in high school, but there was football and basketball and baseball, and that's a lot of competition.
Of course there is. That's a big thing here.
Correct.
But in spite of that, the numbers are still so big.
Sure.
3.5 million to 4 million players.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, there are countries, in the top 10 of the world ranking, the countries have less people than soccer players here.
Yeah.
Well, Coach George, let me ask you this because I was wondering. It seems to me that the American soccer is I don't want to call it a disadvantage, but it's a different situation than the European soccer in the sense that kids come out and play, and you end up getting somebody like, well, we need guys to teach them. Bob, and I never played competitive soccer. I don't
Right.
know it. But in Europe, I would think everybody walking down the street has some decent soccer background to them, so they can take kids and instill what you want to do, what you try to do. It seems to me that you probably got people trying to get people started in this country that really don't know the basics or the roots of the game. Am I wrong?
No, you're not.
Okay.
That is definitely a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, but also what in Europe, of course, it's less than at the time that I grew up. But you see kids playing soccer just by themselves, kicking a ball.
Sure.
What kids do here with the hoop and basketball and throwing a ball for baseball.
Yeah.
But you very rarely see a group of soccer kids playing. Yeah. And that is also a disadvantage. For every kid plays soccer here in general, supervised by an elderly. And that guy does not, or that woman does not always know what the game is.
That's what I mean. Yeah, sure.
And if you are a kid, you learn soccer by making mistakes. Yeah, if I'm a little kid and we just organize a scrimmage and I get a kid, he's a lot taller than I am, then I know I don't have to go up in the air with it, but I try to play the ball between his legs or whatever. Yeah, I learned that by making mistakes. And there is nothing wrong by making mistakes, but here every soccer practice is supervised.
Yeah.
And you miss that. For you start to see kids that don't have that experience to solve their problems. For soccer problems have to be solved by the player. Yeah, you can have, as a coach, you can have a strategy, but as soon as that ball starts rolling, you don't have influence on that anymore.
Yeah, you're done. Yeah.
The player has to make the decisions. And that is also the philosophy that we have in our club here, that we try to develop players that can think about soccer themselves. And mostly in a team, you don't have all dominating players, but often you have one or two dominating players, and they determine, as an extension of the coach, how the game is going to be played.
Is the goal scoring, and obviously you were in your youth career and being a national champion in Europe, which is pretty special. Being a goal scorer, is that something that's just instinctive, or is that something? I mean, is it because you have better ball handling skills, or is it just because you're able to read what's going on the field and reading the play and thinking 2 steps ahead? And
that's correct.
Okay.
For example, I was not the best technical player, but I had an instinct. I was always, or not always, but I was at the right
place at the right time. Yeah.
And then
How do you teach that?
That's
pretty tough to teach.
And that comes by experience,
Yeah.
and it gets better by experience. For example, a couple of years ago, a kid is standing on the field, and we have to defend. We are attacking, and he's standing at the middle line, and I told him to move up 10 yards. And he looks at me, why? And then the ball comes and it's dropping right in front of his feet. Yeah, that comes with experience.
Yeah.
But kids have to recognize that too, and you have to learn that. You have to read the game, and reading the game is a big part of soccer. Yeah, technical talent is not everything. Yeah, that's why sometimes I get a little bit irritated when we see all these things on Facebook with these jugglers. Yeah, they can do this, they can that. That's not soccer. These guys should go to a circus. Yeah, but they don't play soccer. Right. Soccer is something totally different.
Well, and that's a pretty good segue. You know, there's I first started out as a parent. My boys were playing soccer over in Citrus County, and then right before the season began, the coach quit. And so the league looked at the parents of the players and said, "Hey, who's going to step up?" And nobody did, so it was me. Yeah, because I didn't know anything about soccer. And so a lot of the rec league levels are just parents that volunteer that have very limited soccer experience. And so, and in the rec league, there seems to be a great focus on the best kids get up in the front and score, and the weakest players seem to be on defense, when it should be the exact opposite. As I've learned over the last 15, 16 years.
You better say the right thing.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's like Coach George says, it's a game you really play. I mean, of course, it's with your feet, right? That's why it's football. But it's the game you play with your brain. It's really a thinking game. You have to read it. You have to see it. You almost have to feel it. And the whole flow of the ball and where your fellow players are out there on the pitch. But in rec league, that focuses it on scoring, and so like I said, you put your prime players up there in the front and the weaker ones on the back, and both teams do that, and it's a typical a 4-4-2 kind of structure on the team, and then once the whistle blows, it turns into utter chaos. And there's no structure, no format out there whatsoever. But that's why it's so important that you find a coach, you have your kids on a league that have coaches that have a great deal of soccer experience, because it's a great sport, and it's one of those sports that you don't need a helmet and pads and it doesn't require a great deal of expense to play. You just need a good pair of cleats and the ball.
I want to interrupt you here. That doesn't need a great amount of expense for. Unfortunately, in the United States, soccer is becoming an elite sport. If you see, we try to keep the cost down as much as you can. But if you see that quite a few clubs to play soccer for a kid cost you $2,000 a year, I think that's absurd.
It is.
So money plays a big role in here. While we can play for $200,
right?
Yeah, and that's also a pity, and that's a big thing. But by you talking about that soccer is a game, you play with your brain. That's an expression from Johan Cruyff. And Johan Cruyff, for a lot of people here, it doesn't mean much, but Johan Cruyff, in my eyes, was one of the best soccer players ever. The guy passed away yesterday, a year ago, unfortunately. But he was incredible. Yeah. In the 60s and 70s, when I played, he was our top player. And the first and always, soccer is a game you play with your brain. You have to think before the ball comes to you. You have to be already aware where everybody is and what you're going to do. And that's not easy. You learn that over time. And you have to have some instinct, some talent.
Sure.
Parents ask me, what do my kid has to do to get better? There are three things that a kid needs. Yeah, they need some talent, they need drive, and they have to be coachable. Now, a lot of people think that has to be in that order. It is not. Yeah, for drive and being coachable is, I think, the biggest part. You have to have some talent. Yeah, for as you mentioned, if somebody's a wooden Santa Claus.
Another thing I picked up from Coach George.
The wooden Santa Claus, I like that. I think that's what I would have been.
It's hard to play soccer. Yeah, but you have to have the drive. You have to be willing to give it all. Yeah, nowadays also, I talk to my players. We play twice 40 or 45 minutes. a player has to be able to stay on the field for that period of time. Right. Often I get a player after 10 minutes, coach, can I get out? Coach, hey, come on. Yeah, they're 16, 17, 18 years old. Yeah.
In fact, it's interesting you bring that up. Greg and I were laughing because we're driving on the way over talking about this thing that's going on now in professional sports where professional guys have to get days off, or the basketball players, well, I'm going to sit him for a game or two. And I thought, well, you're going to get $80 million. Can't you play for 10 minutes? People paid money to see it. Yeah. And it's just amazing. But I don't know if that's American. I hope it is, but I guess it is. But this thing now where we have to have paid leave and we have to have time off and stuff drives me crazy. It's kind of what you're talking about.
It is. It's just outrageous. Yeah. But that comes into the sport from God knows what. And I like not to sub too often. But sometimes you're forced to. We have a game this afternoon, and there won't be too many subs.
Right. It'll be a warm day.
That's right. Yeah.
It's warm for the other team too,
also,
right?
That's right.
Get out there and
come on, let's go.
Yeah, if they have a bench full of subs, it makes it a little bit easier though. But,
I got one question also. I know we're going to be coming up to a break pretty soon, but I wanted to talk about. You're talking about talent and everything else, but how important is foot speed? If you're not fast, do you have a chance to really be an elite, good soccer player?
Yes.
Oh, that's great news. Yeah. See, I could have been somebody.
you could have. And in a team, you need everything. Yeah. A team is not only a group of very technical players. Some players have a terrific shot. Some other players, they have a terrific short pass. And
well, I'll tell you what,
you need it all.
Coach George is. We got one more segment with Coach George and Randy, and so we're gonna take time out for the sponsors. Thanks so much, Greg. Get us off.
All right, you're listening to Red Zone Radio Sports here on WQBQ 1410. We're sponsored by Bill Bryant Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. They're located at 3401 U.S. Highway 441 in Fruitland Park, and we will be right back after these messages. We are back with Red Zone Radio Sports here on WQBQ 1410, the voice of Lake County. And Bob?
I'm just, we're going to get a whole nother segment with Coach George Intveld from Leesburg High School and the Leesburg Traveling Men's Soccer Team. And, of course, Randy from our own radio station, Star. But I wanted to talk to Coach George about the traveling team, if I could, for a second. By the way, call in any questions about soccer, any questions that you want to ask George, 352-315-1410. Call in and ask anything. I guarantee you he'll do a much better job of answering it than I will, to be sure. But let's talk a little bit about your traveling team. George, how was that developed? And how does a person get on that traveling team? And what kind of season do they have?
For the traveling team, we have 2 seasons. It's from August till October, and then the high school season starts, and then February till May.
Okay, so after the high school, before and after. Okay,
that's right.
Great.
And for us, when we started, the goal was that high school players, will play soccer longer than just the 3 months out of the year. And the city of Leesburg has a wonderful complex called Sleepy Hollow. And they support us with basically everything there, so that is great. And we try to keep the cost as low as possible. We have only one little problem that we talked about before. The FYSA, the overlooking organization in Florida, has a rule that you cannot start a club within 15 miles from another club if they object to it.
We got a phone call.
Oh, well, I'll tell don't put them on hold. We like to take callers. We'll get back to Coach George and his explanation, but let's see. Maybe it is one of those referees.
Hit that drop
it's
button.
A referee. I knew it. I knew it.
It's actually one of your players. You're on the air.
Hello?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach George. It's Trent.
Hey, Trenton. How are you?
Hello. Good morning. I just wanted to call and say hello.
Hello. Are you ready for this afternoon?
Oh, yes, sir. I am.
Okay, that's wonderful.
I can't wait.
It's good to hear you. I'm going to miss you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Randy.
Okay, and Trent, I'm Bob, but you can tell me what's it really like to play for Coach George? Oh no, we're still in the air.
Yeah, let's hear a little. Let's hear it from a player's perspective.
Come on, let's.
All right. Well, I mean, according to what you guys were talking about earlier, how a lot of kids they kind of don't get the best experience. They don't get the best coaches. They get volunteers. Well, Coach George is the exact opposite. He's incredibly passionate for the game. He has just so much knowledge, and he does a great job of passing that on to the kids and, giving them the best examples for, how to become a better player. And he also, one of the things that I think is incredible about Coach George, he tries to give you a life lesson while you play all of this, and so you can learn more than just soccer from him. He's just a great coach.
Well, George, that's a very, very intelligent analysis.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, obviously you're quite a talented, skilled player yourself, but what we've been talking about, where do you plan? What are you going to do with soccer once you're out of the high school system? Do you want to play collegiately? Do you want to get into some kind of a club situation? What are you going to do with your soccer career after this year's over?
Well, I certainly plan to try and play in college.
Wonderful.
And also, next year I plan to try out for the village's PDL team.
Sure.
I've played with a lot of players on the team before, and so I'm really hoping to try and get on that team, maybe get some experience, and actually do that possibly before I go into college. That way I'll be a bit more prepared.
Well, you sound like the type of kid who's got the maturity. I think Coach George passed on some good life lessons to you, because you certainly know how to express yourself. And like I said, you're playing this afternoon. I wish you nothing but good luck. Anything you want to talk about, secret strategy with the coach? He's here.
I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you for the call,
Thanks for the call.
Trent. Hey, good luck.
Thank-
Good luck today. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Well, you should be proud. There's a well-spoken young man.
Yeah.
And I think what he just said, I think that speaks volumes for you, Coach George. I think it is about life, learning a life lesson while you're playing.
It definitely is. It reflects a lot what happens in society, and also, the first thing that you learn in soccer is that today's hero is tomorrow's zero. You have to perform every day again. You cannot look back what happened. You cannot look forward. It's now. Yeah, and there are no excuses for it.
Well, what you did last game doesn't matter
count
today.
anymore.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't count.
To give you an example, the US won last night 6-0. I think Tuesday they have to play again. It's 0-0 again.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, let's get back and also let's go back. We cut into your story about talking about the traveling squad, and I'll let you just pick up where you left off if you can remember. If you can't, I'll lead you down it. But we were just talking about basically how you say the squad plays before and after the school season.
Yes.
And take it from there. So is there an active competition amongst the players to try to get on the traveling squad, or do you have to go out and suggest to guys you ought to be playing on the traveling squad?
No, since there is we mentioned that already earlier. There are so many alternatives here
Yes, right.
for a kid what to do.
Absolutely.
Here you really have to be active involved to get players on the team. Yeah, a few will be there all the time. A few are okay, and then you have to drag a number in. That's just,
Well, I believe it.
no,
Yeah.
that's just the way it is. That's reality. But what I came to was that we started the club, and FYSA, as I said, has a rule that you have another club to start has to be 15 miles away from another club.
Right.
And if the existing clubs object to you starting a club, you cannot. And right now we really have a problem with that, for we are not 15 miles away from a club, and they really block us. And I don't see the reason why. Yeah, we don't draw players from anywhere else than from our region of our area, but unfortunately that's the case. There are some voices within FYSA where they want to make the 15 miles, 10 miles, or 5 miles. Yeah. But it's still not done. So we could not play for GCF, Greater Central Florida, where they have a regular competition. So that was really a problem for us. The villages has helped us out. Yeah, we can play under their name.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so that is really nice. But we want to, on the other side, we want to be our own entity.
Of course,
Yeah,
of
we want
course.
to have our own face. And we're trying to do that, and I hope that one
Well,
day...
you slowly have to, right now you're getting the opportunity through the villages, but one day it'll
that's
be
right.
your own. Yeah,
Yes,
sure.
that's what
right.
we hope.
Sure.
And that's also a thing that FYSA, you should have one organization. Yeah, Here, if I don't like the organization, I start my own. Yeah, and so everything is split up. It's all, there is not one structure. Yeah, like if you play in any other country, you have a structure and you start low, and the better you get, the higher you go.
Sure.
Here, it's all Premier this, Super this, God knows what, and it lasts for a
You
few
know he's right. That's it. You know he's right.
yeah, and that's a pity for a lot of talent, and gets lost. Often when I talk about soccer, some people get aggravated, and you this and you that, it's always better over there, and the players and the coach. It's not. Yeah, we have very good players and we have very good coaches. But I think that the system isn't right. And as long as the system doesn't work, you're never going to get to the top of the world. And we want to be on top of the world, don't we?
Right.
I would think.
For how can a little country like Holland, now we're not on top anymore, but ranked 16 million people, and we were ranked number 2 for quite a number of years. So something must be good there. So why don't you look at it?
And you're headed back there soon.
Yes,
right.
we do. We are going with a group of 40 people to the Netherlands, and we're going, of which 28 players and 12 adults. We're going to play a tournament, an international tournament, with teams from 6 or 7 or 8 different countries in Europe. Then we also will play against an average amateur team, what I used to coach years ago. Then we go to the town where I grew up, and in the meantime, it's more like semi-professional. So we will play that team, and we also play a top amateur team, who that's the VV Resort supporters. They offer their player bus, so our expenses are not extremely high. We have to pay only for the expenses of the bus. And the big thing will be that the players will see that soccer is not just arriving 10 minutes before the game, running on the field and playing soccer, and after the game, mom is sitting there with her van and 8 kids run into it and they're all disappearing. It also has a big social function in every other country, and especially in Europe. We don't have that here. So club life here is not like it's in Europe. And I did this 10 years ago with a group, and it was the best thing that I ever did in my life. It was wonderful, and I hope this time it will be the same way. But by the way, if anybody is interested in sponsoring it,
I was just going to say, is there a fundraising effort?
The kids have to come up with a certain amount of money, and we try to get it as low as possible. But there is always a need for money, and I'm looking for, honestly, $2,500.
That's honest.
To give all the kids a backpack and a practice jacket with our name on it and our colors. So when we go there, that we all look alike, and we represent basically Leesburg.
If you found somebody that do that, can you get the name be on the backpack or something?
That'd be great.
Yes, there will be. Right. And I also have to say we get a lot of support from several people.
I was going to say, I'll bet but you can always use a lot more. The fact of the matter is, $2,500 is either a ridiculous amount of money or not much money at all, depending on how well you're doing in life. Right. And the fact is, you've got some people that have a passion for soccer and a passion for European soccer. Going over and having the kids compete over there. I think that this is like I said, Coach George Intveld and Randy works at the station between getting the high school or getting a hold of Randy. If you want to make a contribution, I think that's the way to.
Yeah, they probably, Coach. Do you have a cell phone? If somebody who's interested in donating that $2,500 or in segments of $2,500, can they give you a call?
Maybe at the school, maybe at the high school.
I still live in the last century.
Okay, you're the Dark Ages. He doesn't have a cell. That's what we like.
You can give me a call, and I'll get you to Coach George.
They can give you a call if you want. I have to mention one name. I don't know, or he's going to appreciate it or like it. But I want to mention one name, and that is Dr. Man Hussein. Dr. Man Hussein is always in the background of the sports, the soccer in this whole area.
Yes.
And there is nobody, as far as I know, who supports the sport more than he does. Maybe he gets mad at me that I mentioned his name.
No, he won't.
But I don't think so. He does an extreme amount. And then there are a lot of other people, that I can even name them all. But I just wanted to say this, for he's exceptional for supporting our sport.
Well, that's good that he gets, and like I said, Randy says get a hold of Randy. Right. Also, if you want to know more about it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You can give me a call. Everybody know my number. It's 352 205-2250. It's a local Lake County number, 205-2250. You can give me a call, and I'll certainly get you in touch with Coach George. And you're looking for some sponsors for backpacks and traveling jackets, right?
That's correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you all look like you're a team uniform,
that's
right?
That's right. For
gotcha.
we're going to play teams there. I know they all come equipped.
Correct.
Up to the hill.
Right.
And they come from all kinds of countries, 7 or 8 different countries.
And you're heading out the end of May, is that
yes,
right? Yeah.
We're leaving the 29th of May.
Fantastic.
And next to that, we'll do some cultural things too. You cannot play 24-hour soccer a day. Most of these trips, they're only 8 days. Our trip is 15 days. So we will visit a National Museum. We will go to an area where there are more windmills than anything else. There are. I cannot
and
go
Frank's house.
And Frank's house. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. We're out of time, and I got to thank again Coach George Intveld of the Leesburg High School men's soccer team and the Leesburg men's traveling soccer team. They're playing today. Where are they playing?
We're playing in
Brevard County, right? Space Coast.
Okay. I was going to say drive on over. You got to take a little bit of a trip there.
Yeah,
but no, I'll tell you what.
It's a 2-hour ride.
But it's been a very informative session for me. I really appreciate Randy coming prepared because I didn't have any intelligent questions asked because I'm not intelligent enough to know all the fine. We didn't talk defense, which is good because that would have been depressing if I would get into defense because I have no idea what a good defensive play is. But Coach George, I want to thank you very much for spending an hour with us and. Best of luck to you in the day, and also best of luck on your travel back to the Netherlands.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. You're listening to Red Zone Radio Sports, and we'll be right back after these messages from